So this is the second half of the match against Krieger, who, if you remember, is a very successful high-stakes heads-up sit-and-go player, and this was the last hand that you saw where I lost a huge pot on my 3 of a kind, and he had a turn the flush. That took me from the chip lead and put him ahead in the match. Here I 3x on Queen 6. I'm sure this is just a spite raise after losing the last hand. And he limps, don't get excited on these 2, and got a gut shot, but not a very good one. If the board does turn a 3, then I'm not going to be very happy with the hand, not very confident anyway. And check it down, and he's actually limped ace-8, which is a bit of a surprise. So I raise and pick up another fold, and this hand, stab out on the paired board, get min raised, and I don't believe him. My plan is to call and stab the turn, which I do, and get raised again. That was a pretty dumb plan. So spewing away chips down to 50k. He's got pretty much 70, and things aren't looking that good. Another spite raise. This time he 3-bets me, and I have to let it go. And he limps. I bet and pick up the pot, so he's being reasonably tight, I guess. I 3x, get 3-bet again. This time I decide I'm going to call it, and not a great flop obviously for me. Now I've got a gut shot and 2 overcards, and once the king comes I try and represent that, and he has 3-bet me on 5-6, so this is the first indication that his 3-bets are getting a bit out of line. I think pre-flop and post-flop, really. He's just trying to take advantage of me. So flat calling with my queen jack, and he bets here. I'm just going to flat call him. Now I've got a double gut shot. He checks, and I don't hit anything on the river, and I think I really need to bet out here. So I bet 38.40 into the pot, and he folds. So struggling along at 42k, not going to panic, it's still a reasonable stack. He limps, I've got the hammer, and I just check this, and I can't imagine anything good happening there. So as you can see, he's limping his reasonable hands like ace-8 and ace-5, so it makes me wonder what he's raising on. And I'm limping. Here I've got obviously the overcard and the flush draw. Just bet out and get a fold from him. And he's 3xing, not going to call on my queen 9 offsuit. Limping my jack 10. I've really slowed down a little bit pre-flop, considering that things weren't working out so well for me. So by raising pre-flop, in effect what I'm doing is increasing the blind sizes if I'm always min betting, and therefore I'm just trying to slow down a little bit here. Obviously the flop wasn't good, but the turn's pretty good. He bets, I just flat call. When he checks on the turn, I'm now betting for value, and pretty decent size bet there, 14.40 into the 19.20 pot, and he calls and shows queen 9, so he had a complete stab on air on the turn there, so he is really getting a bit out of line, and you know, I'll be looking for spots to take advantage of that. Alright, 3x from him, not going to call. Even fold my 8-2. And once again he 3x's. And I'm just going to calm down. Here I'm limping. If he 3x's me here, then I would call. And take a stab. Get raised. And I've got no hand. I've got a backdoor flush draw, but I don't think I'm going anywhere there. And he 3x's, I call, hit middle pair with a decent kicker, and he fires on the flop. Just going to flat him. The 4 doesn't look like a bad card for me. He fires on the turn. This is a bit of a worrying sign. I think I'm going to call this, and if he does fire the river, I'll give up. And luckily he checks behind, but doesn't really help me. He had top pair, raised on king 3, and played it pretty aggressively, so his raises look like junk, and his sort of limps sometimes can be a lot stronger than his raises. And I'm limping, not going to try the spite raise. Don't hit a very good flop here. and fold that. Not much I can do there. Here he raises again, and considering the quality of his raises, I think I'm going to 3-bet him there and get the fold. Alright, limping, he raises, I make a pretty loose call, can't hit the flop, I've got an overcard and a gut shot. Ace on the turn, which is a perfect card for him to try and represent something, which he does, and I've pretty much got to fold down to 34,000. Things are not looking so good. Alright, here he raises, and I think, as I said, I think I've picked up a little tell that his raises are absolute junk. So I 3-bet him, get called, and this is not the flop I want to see. There's 11,000 chips in there. I've got 28 behind. I'm up against a good opponent. This is not a good spot. The only thing I can hope is that this board does not hit him. So I'm going to fire out here aggressively, and I bet 8,000 into the 11,000 pot, leaving me, if he calls this and he's actually hit, or if he shoves on me, I have 20k behind. He will have pretty much 100k, and it's going to be very, very hard to come back from here. But luckily he folds, and let me tell you, I let out a real sort of deep breath there. I was a bit worried in that spot. So limping and pick up bottom pair, stab and grab that pot. All those little pots count. And he folds one pre-flop, which is a bonus. And bottom pair, call, and the club on the turn. That card doesn't help me. When he bets again, I'm thinking back to the King 3 hand where he basically bet twice and had a good hand. It seems that he's not really firing the turn without something half decent, so I think that's an easy fold. Alright, here he raises, just going to flat it, and I try and get a little bit tricky here by donking out, and unfortunately he just folds. I thought that would look a little bit bluffy and spewy, but it did not work, and obviously I wish I checked. Limping my ace-jack, and hitting, betting, picking up the pot, nothing too exciting there, and folding, not hitting anything, having a stab, and then just giving that up. I'm sort of moving through these hands pretty quickly because not much is happening. And I've got a gut shot, get raised, give it up. Alright, this hand, he raises pre, calling on my Queen 10, and now that he bets quite aggressively here, I think this is an interesting spot. I know he raises on junk. The hearts worry me. I'm going to 3-bet him straight away. That way I can kind of get away from the hand if he 4-bets me, or I can possibly take it down and he folds, which is good. That was a handy pot. So limping my ace-9, I've gone from min-raising at the start of the match to really slowing down. Here I get called, and the 9 on the river. Good chance I'm good here, and I was thinking about a value bet when he checked, but luckily decided not to, and he actually had 2 pair. He'd call with his gut shot. Alright, he limps, and not doing much on this pot. And I'll try and move through these hands quickly when not much happens. He raises here, 3-bet him. I know his raise is junk, and he calls me, which is not so good. And when I bet aggressively, I pick up the pot, thank goodness. Alright. And I've got bottom pair here. Have a stab after checking it on the flop, and get nothing. Alright, it's a few hands where I fold, and miss flops, nothing happening. So I move through it quickly. I bet and get raised, so fold that. And get raised pre. Alright. Here I try a raise pre-flop, pick up the blinds, and this one he raises back. Here I'm going to limp my 5-5, try and hit, and I check. When he stabs on the turn, I think there's a good chance my 5s are good, but just flat call him, and now when he checks I'm going for value, hoping to get called by a 3 or a 4, and he folds. He's probably on pure air there. Alright, he limps, and I've picked up a flush draw. This is a pretty aggressive opponent, so I'm going to play this very passively. I check, and he bets, controlling the pot size. He bets again, so now I think he actually has something good. And now I pick up the flush. I've got the nuts on the river, and I'm going to check here because I know that if he bets twice, he probably has a good hand, and I'm hoping to get another bet out of him on the river. He fires out a pretty hefty bet, and now I'm going to make a large re-raise, trying to look bluffy, and kind of repeat the sequence earlier when I raised him as a bluff. So I do, and he calls, makes a pretty horrible call in my opinion, on King 4. I mean, top pair, and he just couldn't let it go. I think if I was him, I wouldn't have bet the river there. Alright, stab this, get called, and now I can't do much with this hand. Nothing good's going to happen. Alright, I think I'm going to skip ahead because it is such a long match, and look at some of the hands where things happen. So we're going to move right ahead here. Queen, Queen. He raises, 3-bet, and he folds. And limping here. Here he bets. Obviously I don't believe his stab. Could be a 6 or a 7. Just flat call him. When he checks, I take it down on the turn. Alright, moving ahead. And limping. And here I hit a jack on the turn. Should bet here. I'm just being really a little bit too passive. And pick that one up. So he raises. I think I make a pretty horrible call. And then I can't call. I mean, I guess if you're going to call on 6-5, you really should consider, calling when you hit a pair. So it was a little bit, not a good sequence there. Alright, once again calling, not a good flop, and not much I can do. Alright, I got Ace-10. He raises me, flat him, that's a nice flop. And he bets. I'm just going to flat call him. I'm taking the risk that the Jack or the Queen or the King will come. That would obviously not be good. And he checks on the turn. And obviously I don't like the diamond flush coming there or the Jack. I bet 4,000. And now when he raises me, I'm thinking, oh no, what have I done? I should have raised on the flop. So I call that, and he's got pure air. What a horrible raise. To only min raise me there. I mean, if he'd have raised me like 12, 14,000, I might have had a tough decision and probably would have laid it down. But that min raise is an automatic call. So he might be a high stakes winning play, but I think that's a horrible play. Alright. Here I'm hitting 2-pair. Stab and gets folded. And he's raising. I try the 3-bet. And then I chicken out, which is not so good, and he takes down the pot, so weak play from me. Alright, and whoops, I went a little bit too quickly there, didn't I? I'll just go back. So, here I limp, he makes a big raise, and I think I'm going to call this a bit loose perhaps, and then I have to give it up on the flop. So as I say, a pretty loose call there. And I min raise, pick up a pot. Just limping now, controlling the pot size. That's a lovely lovely flop. Check behind to try and induce some action. Queen of clubs looks good to me. And now I make a little stab and can't get any interest. So I played that about as well as I could. Alright, and here we go. I've hit bottom pair, make an aggressive bet and push him off. And he's raising, min raising. I'm just going to call this, pretty weak call. Not a nice flop. And here I've got a draw and pick it up. So once he checks the flop there, I think he's weak. And stabbing there with as a semi-bluff wasn't bad. Alright, he raises and I call, hit top pair. And he bets. And then he bets again on the turn. I should realize that this is a strong bet and fold. And we check it. I check it. And now just can't fold, and he's got a better ace. That was just really bad play by me, I think. Alright, bet my middle pair, get raised. This guy's spewy though, so I'm not folding there. Then when he checks on the turn, put him under pressure and pick it up. So that was a pure raise on air, I suspect. Alright, he raises pre. I 3-bet him and pick it up. And we're basically back to even. Most of the chips he lost back to me were on that sort of silly bluff he made. I mean, it was just a really horrible bluff. He 3-bets me again, and once again he's out of position, inflating a pot he shouldn't, and I take it down. So his 3 bets are getting really ordinary at this stage in the match, and it just looks like he's trying to find a way out. And I check this, just hoping to get some sort of action, and that's not a nice river, of course, but luckily I'm still good. Alright, he 3x's me pre-flop, and I'm just going to fold that. And he's getting pretty aggressive, so I 3-bet him, pick up the fold, staying really aggressive pre-flop, a lot more aggressive than normal for me pre-flop anyway. So I mean, it might not feel that aggressive to other people, but it is for me. And we're basically even in this match, and he is getting a little bit spewy, so that's why I call this. And then when he bets again on the turn, I try to push him off it, forgetting my my sort of tell that when he bets the turn it's the goods, and he raises me and I feel a bit silly. So looking at this in hindsight, I realise that his bets on the turn are normally the goods, but I kind of didn't quite realise that in the match. And trying to pick up a pot here. At least this is something I can represent. And he donks out. Donking out here I find to be a very, very strange action. So I just flat it. And now he checks. Now I take it off him. So that donking out was just horrible. Alright, he's raising, and I make a horrible call. Have to fold. A lot of the time, or let's see, a pretty large raise, and actually choose to call it, which I think is very loose and poor. And I guess a lot of this is the fact that I've been playing for so long, and at the moment it doesn't look like I've got a fold button. I was going to say here I just basically float him and stab, representing the flush, and take it off him. So I'm getting a lot more spewy as well, but sort of in reaction to him. And stab and take it down. I was going to say, a lot of the time when people do donk out, I mean, it just is rubbish. And here I flat, hit top pair, and raise him straight away. Don't really like the turn, and this is all of a sudden not looking so good. And I'm betting the river, and luckily my top pair was good. A 40,000 pot. Ouch, I'm glad I won that. Alright, not much happening on this one. I actually considered calling this thing as a split, but he bet with the king, so bad play. Alright, he's raising, calling, hitting top pair, raise him straight away and get called, which I think is very loose. And now I'm going to make a big bet. I mean, you know, if he's going to suck out me there, he's going to pay for it. Raise with my ace-5, and I have the chip lead basically. I've been a little bit more aggressive than him, pushing him around, now that I realized how sort of much he's been sort of taking advantage of me and floating me. Make a loose call on ace-4, can't pick anything up, and at the moment it just looks like I'm don't really have much of a fold button. I have a raise button and a re-raise button, and the fold button's disappeared. And obviously I'm not folding my top pair here. He doesn't fire the turn, meaning he's weak, and I make a little bet for value, get called, and that was a pretty loose call on fourth pair. Raise, take a stab, get called, please give me an 8. No. Alright, so that's the end of that. And once again, as I said, I'm not folding, and here when I stab out, I've now got some showdown value, and that is not looking good when he bets on the river there, so I had a stab, didn't work. And he raises pre, and flat him. He's not looking strong here, so I stab and take it down. And I think I'm playing a little bit more aggressively than him, and that's really leading me to pick up a lot of these pots. Alright, he raises, not folding much, stab out and pick it up. So the donk bet seems to be working really well. And there you saw, of course, I skipped a few hands because not much happened on them. It's a long match, and I'm sure you don't want to see every single hand when it just gets folded and checked down. Alright, raising here, pick up a fold. My 4-4. He raises, I call, hit nothing, and give up. And I'm raising, putting him under some pressure. And he's low. He's not low, but he's down to 40k. I'm trying to keep the pressure on him. 3-bet him here on King 5. And he folds. So you can see how I've really increased my aggression level here. Now I'm min-raising everything. And here I continue to raise as the blinds have gone up. And still raising him, putting him under a lot of pressure. And here we get to the pivotal hand in the match. So he raises me. I flat on this sort of 2-4, the one gap suited connector. Not the best flop in the world. I check. Here he bets, and this is a pretty dry flop in the sense that I don't think he would have hit it very often. And so I immediately raise him and get 3-bet, or I guess 4-bet. But I think he's sort of very unlikely to be actually ahead here. I think he's just trying to outplay me, and there's no way I'm folding. I check, and he checks behind, and bang, I've picked up the flush. He's got 26,000 behind. I can try and represent a busted spade draw by betting. He's also shown some strength, so I bet 17,000 into that pot and get called by him. And have a look what he's got. He's got 10-5, so I was absolutely right to call his 4-bet. He was basically on complete air. And now I've got a pretty commanding lead. I limp, and when he checks, take a stab and take it down. And now we get to the last hand of the match. He shoves, and I pick it up with King-Queen. He's got some outs here, but misses them all. And I hope what you take from this match is sometimes when your opponent is getting pretty spewy, you can outspew them, especially if you're deep stacked, whereas if you make a mistake or two, it doesn't really matter so much. And the other thing is, when a player is sort of a lot better than you according to their statistics, then you need to maybe think about being more aggressive and trying to throw them off their game. Just sort of me playing my standard, straight down the middle ABC poker is probably not going to cut it against a guy that sort of plays at a very, very high level. So this is the fourth WCOOP match. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, I hope you run good.